Today is all about how to create virtual photographs, virtual photography. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, but today we're going to go through it. So whether this is new to you or you've tried it before on yourself, on your own, I want you to pay attention because we're going to have a lot of fun and hopefully you'll see some things that can hopefully open doors for you to a new way of shooting. All right, here we go. So, my name is Matthew Jordan Smith. I'm a Nikon ambassador. I love photography. I've been shooting now for decades, and I love this business. The image you see here is actually something that I did. I did a lot of self-portraits during quarantine, and this is one of them. I was experimenting a lot, shooting a lot, trying new things, because when we had these moments, this time, it's the time when you should really like get into trying something new, experimenting, having fun, and then figuring out how to, make your pictures have your own special spin. And that's what I've been doing the last 3 months, really just doing that. Now we're starting to break out of quarantine, out of shelter in place, and that feels good too. So I'm based in Japan. For those who don't know, I live in Tokyo, and it's been a very interesting time because this is the busiest crosswalk in the world. It's called Shibuya. I never thought that area would be empty, but the last 3 months, it's been like a ghost town. So to see things change that way lets you know the whole world is going through this change. Even right now, as we're talking, we're going through change. So today I want to put a smile on your face because we are all going through a lot. So for everybody here, I'm going to give away a free gift to everybody at the end today. So make sure you stay along because, it's been stress, I know, for all of us all over the world. But I've got something, if you are a photographer, I've got a gift for you to put a smile on your face. So stay with us today. Let's get going. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming today. It's great to have you guys here. I love photography. You're here, so it means you must love photography too, right? Well, thank you for coming. Let's get rocking and rolling. I'm known for shooting celebrities, but that's not how I start off my career. When you start photography, you pick up your camera and you try to figure out how to get a great picture, a great exposure, and then little by little you get better by always shooting, always experimenting. That should never end. You should always be pushing the boundaries to try something new. Photography has been around for quite a while, almost 200 years now. So it is also at a time when it's going to evolve. And as we go on, we'll see it morph and change and evolve. That's bound to happen. So I also shoot a lot of fashion and beauty. Actually, more beauty than fashion, but it's in that fashion world. So this was the last assignment I did right before shelter in place happened. And it's just coming out now, but this is my last job before we had to all shut down. And I just got it done before everything closed down. This is a fun job, but this is what I do a lot of. As you see, even with this, my celebrity or my fashion beauty, it's all tight work, all close, portrait based, beauty based. I'm always working in this kind of space, shooting heads, shooting faces, and I've loved that. I've done it for the last 30 odd years and I absolutely love it. It never gets old. So, like I said before, I am a Nikon ambassador. I love photography, and today I'm going to share what I think is an evolution in photography. You may have seen my work also on America's Next Top Model. I've done this show about 5 or 6 times, but now in syndication all over. I got an email last week that one of the shows was on. It's funny because it's been over a decade since I shot all my episodes, but they still run somewhere all over the world, and maybe you have seen one. But I also love talking about photography. I love teaching photography. Of course, I love shooting it, but I love sharing the joy of photography. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the joy of photography and hopefully in a way that can help you have less stress in your life and have some more joy as you shoot. No matter what's going on, we've got to do something to make us feel good all the time. And photography, it should be that creative outlet to put a smile on your face and a smile on others' faces too. I know, right now a lot of documentation is going on because photography is that as well. It's great to document what's happening, but it's also an art form for you to be creative and show how you feel. So let's get deeper into this. That's me right there, by the way, at the very top, if you can't see me speaking. So let me ask you guys a question now. What did you do while you were quarantined, while you were in shelter in place? You know, I saw a lot of creative things happening during this time. And it's funny when you are forced to be in your homes, whether you have a big house or a small home or an apartment in New York or wherever you are, Midwest, anywhere in the world, whatever your space is, when we are forced to be in a space, you really grow creatively. We saw some amazing things during the quarantine, and I think also we saw a lot of great things come out in photography. So whatever you were doing, hopefully you'll stay with those things and it's going to help you to grow even more. So one thing I missed about being in quarantine was being with my friends. This is uh, Tyra, and it's famous makeup artist Sam Fine. I missed hanging out with my friends. This is one day after on the set shooting, and we were all just hanging out, being silly. Taking a picture, hugging at the end of the shoot. Today we can't do that. Not that same way. We're not hugging that same way. It may be a new normal, going forward. I don't know, but I really now look at these moments and cherish them. Photography is that. It's always been that. It captures a moment. No matter what that moment is, photography captures a moment, and that's fantastic. So, let me ask you guys this also. How many of you were doing Zoom sessions during quarantine? Raise your hand if you did Zoom. Um, all of a sudden Zoom blew up and everybody was using Zoom or some type of video conferencing to connect with friends. It's kind of funny. I've been using Zoom for like the last 3 years now because I teach people all around the world and I use it as my teaching platform. But now we are all using it to stay in contact. And maybe it's been like, too much. I know how it feels because I did a lot of Zoom. So here it is, like, I'm having a teaching session where I'm teaching like 50 different people around the world. And this is what it looked like is me being here with my light, my mic, and you'll see the entire crowd as we're going through a session. But then I also had meetings as well. This is my agent in New York, Lewis. So we had a lot of meetings. Even though we were in quarantine, we still had meetings about things hopefully happening in the future. And then also some clients were calling about other work I've done in the past, wanting to use, older work because they still had to put things out. So people were buying images even during quarantine. So my agent would call me and we get stuff done via Zoom. And then, of course, getting together with friends and just, shooting the breeze and catching up no matter what was going on was a big part and still is a big part of how I connect with all my friends now. The Zooms have been going on for 3 months now. And I must say, it's still a great way to get in contact with people. But something happened one day during a Zoom session. Somebody mentioned something to me about virtual photography. It was one of my friends in New York, a model, and she was saying, "Have you heard about virtual photography?" I'm like, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, people are starting to do this thing." And I'm like, "Well, let me learn about this." So I started doing my research about virtual photography. And maybe you've done the same thing to find out what it is. So, you know, the great thing about this is something that did not exist at the beginning of this year. And now you're hearing about it more and more. So maybe you're wondering what is virtual photography. Let's get into that. Virtual photography is a way to create images using what we're doing now, video conferencing, and doing it in a way that feels different, that looks different. Now, right away, there was debate about virtual photography, and I get it. People are like saying, oh, it's not the same quality as regular photography. But then I thought about that, and I've been shooting for a long time, and I had to ask myself, should it be the same? I don't think so. So here's what virtual photography is. A photographer taking a picture. Here I have my mask on because I want to make it seem like the moment. Here I'm taking a picture of my screen. The model is on a device, either a smartphone or an iPad or a computer. And then I'm guiding them, I'm directing them as I photograph them via my screen. In this image, the model was in New York, and I was, well, of course, I'm here in Tokyo. So, thousands of miles away, but we are creating images. So, I want to take you through this process of what I've done to create virtual photography and talk about for a second, because this is something, if you really work at this, that can become another viable way to make money as a photographer, to be more creative as a photographer, and to connect with people from all around the world. So before the COVID hit, I was traveling to the States once a month. Last year, I came to the States from Japan 11 times, and it's been that way for 3.5 years, basically, going back and forth. But now that's changed. But the funny thing about this is that in photography, when these evolutions come, those who jump out in front of things right away, you learn how to master them, make them better, and then when people finally get on that bandwagon, you're ahead of the curve. I've seen this happen time and again, where if you wait, you're kind of trying to catch up later on. Remember, the first time you heard about, Instagram? Did you jump on it right away, or did you wait? These things, they have a mind of their own. So it's good to get in early and understand new evolutions, like we're seeing this evolution now. So let me go through this process of this virtual photography. So maybe you're wondering, should these pictures look the same as a regular picture? Again, I don't think so at all, because then what's the difference between a regular picture and a virtual picture? A picture that's done with virtually, it should feel different, it should look different. So here's an example of one version of virtual photography. The model is on her device. I'm on my computer. I'm using my camera. I'm using my Nikon Z7, and I'm taking pictures of my screen, and I am directing her. And then I'm using On1 to create and mode and make my images. I want to take you today through this whole process and see if you can understand what this can do in terms of your photography and how it can open doors. Okay, so let me first talk about what you need for virtual photography. You need your computer, I think, or a computer, or for on the photography end, definitely a screen of some type other than your smartphone. I don't think it's great for a photographer to use a smartphone at all. So for me, I'm using my computer as the device that I shoot. You could also use probably an iPad, but I think it's better to have a bigger screen, and you want to make sure that your screen stays level. So you want to make sure you can control that so it's flat. That's very important. So I definitely would say a computer over anything else, or some type of screen that you can make sure that it's flat. Then your camera. For me, it's the Nikon Z7. That's what I use to do all my pictures virtually. You'll need a video conferencing app like Zoom or FaceTime, something like that. And then for me, On1 Photo Raw 2020. That's what I've used to do all of these images. Okay, let's go through them now. So this was my very first virtual photo shoot. My very first time doing virtual photography. I do feel that it should feel different than normal photography. It needs some kind of edge to make it look different. You know, people were first saying when I first posted my first pictures of virtual photography, I posted an image on Instagram and somebody said, "Oh, there's no way I will ever shoot that. I like having the model in front of me. I like the connection I have with the whole crew." And I get that because I love that too. However, when we are in a place where we are forced to shelter, where we are told that we can't be, but 6 to 10 feet away from another person because of a virus, these things, we need an outlet, and virtual photography is that outlet. It's not supposed to replace photography. It's another evolution. So I see this as an evolution in photography that can open doors. So here she is in New York and I'm in Tokyo and I'm still able to shoot her. So here's the thing that was also amazing about this that I had no idea would happen. When people are forced to be secluded, you can still connect. And the process of being creative is so amazing for us, the photographers, and for the models. What I've noticed as I've done all my virtual shoots is that each of my subjects has felt amazing as we connect. They are getting to be creative again. I mean, people who love to be in front of the camera, a model loves that process of being shot. And here we are connecting and doing something brand new. So what you must be aware of, however, is that you must be in control of your light because your subjects don't know light. They may think that all light's the same. And we as photographers know that's simply not true. So first thing I would do is find out, does the model have any type of light? Today there are people doing a lot of things online. They may have a ring light they use for doing social media. That's very common today. So find out, do they have any type of light that they own? If they don't, then you want to do what I call a scouting session, where I'll go through, have them walk me around their space, their home, to find out where the light is, and then see what looks good on their screen. And then the other thing, you want to document that time of day. What time is it where the light looks good? If they're using natural light coming through a window, what time is it in their time zone? So you can set your time to shoot based on that. Then you want to also talk about, the background. So I like clean walls because to me it looks timeless. So I'll find a clean wall in their home and tell them, okay, I want to shoot you in this place. I'll tell them where I want them to dress in terms of, the wardrobe. I love things that are being clean. I love black tops, white tops, things that can look timeless. So if you see this picture 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe you'll know, okay, that's a virtual photograph. It has that same feeling. So you want to be in control of all those elements. The one thing about virtual photography is you must direct more. You can't just take the picture. You got to walk through every part of the process. And the pre-production part of the photo shoot is also a very important part of it. Pre-production in a normal shoot and in virtual photography, they're both extremely important. So find out about, what they're going to wear, about their hair, about their makeup, because in this case, they're probably doing everything themselves. There's not a makeup artist coming to do their makeup. They're in shelter in place, they're in quarantine, so it's just them. If they have a light, like in this case, this model had a light, a ring light. She uses it for social media. So I use that light. But still, they may not still understand fully about light, and you must direct them on how to place the light so it looks good based on your screen. Then here's another shoot I did, and this model was in France. So in France, the lockdown was very intense. They had to have a a letter to even walk outside, to go anywhere, to go to the grocery store. So this was a real treat for this model and I. So you'll see in the top here, on the top left, I have the recording showing, so you can see that I'm recording this as I'm shooting her. And we had so much fun. I've shot this model for a decade easily, and I've shot her all over the world. But she was in, actually is still in France, and I'm in Tokyo. So we set up our time. So we figured out our time zones, figured out the time of day, looked at for the light, where it was light for her, which was nighttime for me, and we made this shoot happen. And we had so much fun. So all these pictures you're about to see, they are all done virtually. And what I like about these images, once you figure out how to make them have your special fingerprint, they can look almost like old film images. And that's what I've come to love a lot about these pictures, that they look like film. So I'm going through and I'm shooting pictures and I'm giving it this dreamy effect. Like at the beginning of photography, if you think about that very beginning, those old cameras were not sharp. Those old film cameras had a different quality, different look to it. And with virtual photography, it can have a little bit of that same spin to it. But you had this control in terms of your creativity to take it to another place. And I really enjoyed that. So all these images are done virtually. And as you can see, they still fit into that same thumbprint of what I do, even when I'm doing my normal shoots. So you want your pictures still to feel like your other images when you're shooting a normal picture. I shoot a lot of beauty, a lot of portraits. I'm very close up. So with my virtual shoots, I want that same feeling. I want my pictures to have that same feeling throughout, that same thread throughout the image. So all my pictures have that same look of being tight, close up. Is the quality the same as when I'm shooting in a normal situation where the model is right in front of me? No, but it's not supposed to be. I believe virtual pictures should look very different than when you are shooting somebody in reality. We're talking about virtual. They should have a different feel to them. If somebody looks back on 2020 and sees a picture that you've done during this time, it should look like 2020. So I'm working on these pictures that are done virtually, and it's opened up doors for me, even now that quarantine's now coming out. We'll go back into it or not, who knows? But what I'm doing now is taking pictures of all my friends, no matter where they are in the world. And that's a great thing. It can open doors depending on how you see this. Now, it was fun for us, for the model and for me, to shoot all these images, to, you know, even though she's on her computer, I'm on my computer, I'm directing her, she's hearing me, she's seeing me, I'm seeing her, and we're doing this shoot together. It was the next best thing to being together in the same place and shooting. But it was brand new. And also, this model had never heard about virtual photography. And I contacted her and said, have you heard about this virtual photography? She says, no. I'm like, let's do a shoot. So I explained to her what I wanted in terms of the look and the feel. And this was her very first time doing a virtual photo shoot. And we had a ball doing it. And the funny thing is, she's now started to post pictures on her Instagram, and so have I now, about these virtual images. And we're getting a lot of interesting comments based on it. And some people can't believe these are virtual images, but they are. So here we are going through this whole process again of, our virtual looks, and you learn how to make your thumbprint even with virtual photography. So have fun with this. I love the dreamy feel of virtual photography. The one thing I can't control is the lighting. I'm a lighting guy. I love having control over my light. I even teach lighting on a big scale. But in virtual photography, you don't have control over the type of light you want to use. You have to look for light. You have to look for the existing light. So one of the hardest things to learn in photography is learning how to see light. And with virtual photography, you will be tested to learn to see light. And not just any light, where's the beautiful light? Because it's not enough just to know that there's light in the room. You need to know where the light is and how it shapes the face, how it contours the face, all of that. So you're looking in a different way for light. So you still need to know about light to really master virtual photography. But then once you learn how to look for it, this will also make you better when you are doing your normal shoots with a person in front of you. So this is great all the way around. So here I'm doing variations of it, and you'll see, here it's more dreamy. Here I've come down to a little bit. I'm changing things around. Also notice all the backgrounds are darker. Now this all happens before the photo shoot when you're doing your pre-production. You're trying to find that area where you want to shoot. So I'm not just looking for the model and what she's going to wear, her hair. I want to also look for the light and the backgrounds. I want clean, simple backgrounds because those things feel timeless. I've seen a lot of virtual photo shoots now where people are shooting in a room and you see the entire room, and there's nothing wrong with that. But personally, I like it when it's clean, where there's no distractions. In photography, every picture should have a hero element. And by hero, I mean that one element that stands out in that picture where it brings all of your attention to your main subject. If you're in a room with a lot going on, your eye can go all over the place. So I want people to see my images, and I want their eye to go right to my subject with no distractions. So it's good to have, the feeling of the image. I want to go back to that so you can see there's a lot of feeling here. And this stuff I love. But the backgrounds are very simple, plain. So all the eye goes is to my subject. Now, this is all my personal opinion, but this is what I love. And maybe hopefully you'll love it too. But get out there and experiment with this. Now, I'm known for shooting celebrities. So I want to call a celebrity and do a celebrity virtual photo shoot. So I believe this may be the world's first virtual celebrity photo shoot. Here it is right now. You guys are seeing it firsthand. This is the world's first virtual celebrity photo shoot. This is the actor Leon, and I talked to him about the image I wanted to do, and I had this idea and what I wanted him to do. And just like with my other subjects, I had to go in first and have a meeting to talk about what I wanted to do. I had to talk about the idea. I had to explain to him what virtual photography was. And, he's an actor, so he's, open to doing new things. So I'm like, here's something that's brand new. It's a virtual photo shoot. Let's get together and do it. So I got to explain to him about the light. So he was in Sag Harbor, of course, me in Tokyo. So I had to go through his home, find out how the light was, and then from there, schedule the photo shoot based on a time where the light was good, talk about what he's going to wear, and then start going to work and doing these images. So let me just take you through a few more of these pictures. So here we are again doing these portraits. And again, I'm very close. And I'll show you guys in a second exactly how I'm doing this. But I want you to see how I'm going through and finding these images and making them look like old film. And I love that feeling. I do believe that virtual pictures look better in black and white. It's a certain quality that's timeless and beautiful and I think really, really cool. So I'm telling them how to look also at the camera of their device versus just looking at the screen. So you'll notice, like, if you're looking at the screen, the eyes look a little different. So if you have them look directly at the camera wherever that camera is of your device, it looks exactly like you're looking at a camera in reality. So be aware of that as well. You don't want them to look at the screen, but to look at the camera part of their device. It makes a huge difference. That little small difference of looking down a little bit versus looking right at the camera is night and day. So you directing as you shoot is essential during these types of shoots. So here we are, a few more of these versions, and I really love these images, and I love now that I can go to a celebrity anywhere in the world and say, let's do a shoot, and it opens up doors. And people love doing something that's brand new. Once I mentioned this to everybody I've talked to about this, they've all been excited about doing it. And who knows what next winter is going to bring. We've all heard the stories of what may happen in the spring, in the fall and next winter. So if you get on this now, you'll be ahead of the curve if we have to go back into a shelter-in-place mode or quarantine mode in the future. We have no idea what the future holds. But know that you can take pictures now anywhere in the world and feel connected with your subjects. And that's a lot of fun. What I really love also is all these pictures, they've all been finished in On One. And it's opened up another avenue that you may not have thought about before. So I'm gonna go through all this for you guys to see as well, but it is a lot of fun to shoot this way and then to take your pictures and create your own special look with On One. I've had a lot of fun doing these images, and I think you guys will too once you wrap your head around the process of shooting virtually. Imagine you can book a shoot with a client no matter where you are in the world, no matter where they are in the world. You could actually end up maybe making more money doing virtual photography than you could doing normal photography. Think about that. There's no problems in terms of about location or weather, or it just opens up another door. And also, you're not locked into your location to shoot. It opens you up to the entire world. Think about that. If you're wondering about, oh, I'm having a hard time making money as a photographer in your area, you don't need to be locked into just your area anymore. You can now open that door and do something very, very different, like virtual photography. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, so I want to show you guys exactly how I've been doing this, because I think this is gonna make a big difference for all of you to see this. So, can you guys now see me? Nathan, can they see me fine
Yeah,
now?
yeah, they can see
Oh,
you.
beautiful. So, when I'm shooting virtually, this is the camera I'm using, my Z7, and lens-wise, I'm using a 60 millimeter lens, and this is a macro lens. Now, I love doing portraits, so I'm actually very close to my screen, like this, and every picture you've just seen is me like this. I'm shooting my screen right here. I find my exposure, and I set that on manual, because once you find your exposure, you don't want it fluctuating around as your screen may change from brighter to darker. You want to set that manually. Then I shoot all my images in RAW. I think it's much better to shoot pictures this way versus I've seen pictures online of people using a smartphone to take pictures, but that quality is not going to be great if you want to do something in the future. With pictures I've shot on my camera, I can print these virtual images and have an exhibit to show what I did during quarantine. This is a very special time we're going through. It's a historic time. In the future, people want to look back at what was done during this time. What did you shoot? Imagine if you could do pictures around the world and then show those pictures and exhibit, and say, okay, this was shot with a photographer in New York while the model was in France. People are like, what? What is that? Virtual photography. This is an evolution. So this is my tool that I use, and I'm on my same computer right now this is all I used. My camera, I have lighting me right now, of course, but I'm just here with my 60 millimeter lens. I'm shooting on manual, and I'm this close. Now, maybe you may want to try using a tripod, possibly, because that's another option as well. But I like, I've never loved being on a tripod unless I'm doing something where I need things to be still. But find what works for you and then get out there and try it. Okay, let me get back into this 'cause I want you guys to see how I do the back end of this as well. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. Share that now and go back into this.
Looks
So the
good.
shooting, oh,
Sorry.
great,
Yeah,
perfect,
we can see it, man.
cool. So the shooting process is me again, just like this. This is actually an image doing an actual shoot. So I have my mask on just to show you that. And the post process, let's get into that because this is the fun stuff. I'm using On1, of course, and I'm going through this process where I'm, playing around to get my images where I want them to be. So I'm taking everything and turning it to black and white. That's the first thing I do. But here's the second thing I do. I add film grain to the image. Every picture I'm doing virtually, to give it that film feel, I'm adding that film grain. So I want you to find out which type of film grain you like, because there are many types. For all mine, I've used the Tri-X 400 look. I love that look. And then you can play around with the amount. You'll see here there's the amount and the size. I have mine both at all the way. So I'm using my amount at 100%, my size 200%. I love that for my grain feel. Now, experiment and find out what kind of grain you like. I was playing around also with like 3200, so it's really, really grainy, which I actually liked that a lot as well. That grain feel is very attractive to me. It feels like film and it's beautiful. So find what you like and play around with that. All right, so get back to that part again. So with this video, I'm going to talk you guys through this part. So this is an image where it's the final look, but I want to show you how I got to this. So here I've got borders, I've got texture, I've got vignette, just a little bit actually. I've got bleach bypass, and I've got black and white. I'll start with the black and white because this is the first thing I normally do. So here I go to black and white. I add a little bit of contrast, not a lot, just 18%. I've gone also to my film grain. So this one I'm choosing the T-Max 400. And figure out which one you like. There are a lot of different films in there. Again, I'm going to 200% on the size. I'm going to 100% in terms of the amount. I love that look. It's very beautiful. So in this one, I'm adding my film grain here in the black and white module. You can add it two different ways. You can add it separately or you can add it in the black and white. So there's two ways to go to add your grain. And this one, I'm adding it here along in the black and white process. Now let me just collapse this for a second. I go to the bleach bypass. Here you can go and change up in my brightness. I added just a bit of brightness. I'll take this on and off for a second. There we have it going off, which is still nice. And then on just to give it a different kick, it's kind of like in that beauty feel, that high key feel a little bit. Then the vignette is very, very subtle. Take a look at this. Very, very subtle. Off and on. Again, let me see that. The off and on. Very, very subtle. But it adds that little bit of kick to make it really special and stand out. Now, this is the fun part. Texture. So the texture is, let me just open that up for a second. We have a lot of different textures. I'm choosing a paper texture, which I really like this a lot. So my main category is paper. And then I'm using rice paper light, this slight little overlay that gives you this little beautiful texture to make it feel nice. And you have a lot of options in terms of all these different types of paper. Find out which one works a lot for you. But it gives you this amazing, amazing feel. And I absolutely love this. Of course, this is my personal opinion, but I fall in love with this texture. And then lastly, borders, which, as you've seen earlier, I like a lot. I love the emotion version in terms of my borders on this one. Choose which one you want, but you have a lot of options. Play around with all these and see which one feels right to you. For all of you who shot film before, if you shot 4x5 or you did any kind of Polaroid transfer, this is exactly what they look like. So this is, in a way, you giving a new version of that look, but the 2020 COVID style. So I love these types of images and playing around and getting an image to feel this way. This is virtual photography. Now, this model is in Arizona, me in Tokyo. Doesn't matter where they are. You find your images and you tweak them the way you want, and it's a lot of fun. Here I am again, going back and playing around. I'm doing the film separately, my black and white separately, and my film grain separately, but you can do it, the film grain, within the black and white module here as well. So it's fun to play around and find out what works for you. The grain gives it this really nice feel. So play around. You'll see also where I'm adding a lot of flare, like the sun flare, and this. Today it's very hard to get flare on modern lenses because the coating on lenses now is so good it's hard to get. But you can add that in now, like an old film camera from the 50s or the 60s, that area. Those lenses did not have the same kind of coating that we have today. So they would do this, but that's hard to do today unless you buy a very old lens. But you can add these effects in on one, and I absolutely love them. So jump in there and play around with this sun flare and find out what works for you, because you can do a lot of things. You move the sun, the flare, anywhere in the image you want. You also have sliders so you can change it from being anything you want as well. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this for a second because here I've added sun flare. I've got a photo filter to give it a little color. I've got the vignette on again. It's a small amount. And of course, it's black and white. And within the black and white, I've added my film grain to this. So this is fun to do. I hope you guys are seeing the possibilities that this adds for a photographer in terms of you shooting anybody in the world, wherever you are. You don't have to leave your home, and you have the whole world open to you to make your images. This is really cool and special. Okay, so now it's time for my free gift. In the very beginning, I promised all of you a free gift. I'm going to put a smile on your face no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're going through today, no matter how stressful things are. I want to leave you today with something special. So I made a free gift for everyone today. This is a free download for every photographer in the house. This is a smart photo filter just for you guys. This is actually, I think, a problem in photography was understanding what an image would look like with a filter on before you would purchase a filter. So this is a way for you to learn how to use color correction filters. This is my gift to you. So jump in there, grab this one. It's totally free. It's all for you today to put a smile on your face as we go through these hard times we may be going through today. Okay, that's your free download. Again, it's at smartphotofilters.com. So what you have is a collection of color correction filters, and you can see exactly what they look like before you go and purchase an actual filter. Because sometimes you look at a filter and maybe you want to buy a filter to put over your lights, but you're not sure what that filter is going to look like until you buy it and get it home and try it out. And like, oh, that's not what I wanted. This gets you around that problem. This is your free gift today. So take it and enjoy and make some amazing pictures.